I've discovered through my research that animal agriculture is the most devastating activity that we human beings are engaged in terms of environmental devastation, because it's so inefficient. We feed huge amounts of grain and legumes, which could feed people, instead to imprison animals who convert what could be healthy plant nutrients to four things: saturated fat, cholesterol, acidifying animal protein, and huge amounts of sewage, as well as nitrous oxide and methane, which are devastating to climatic stability. In addition to all that, we're overfishing the oceans to feed fish not only to human beings, but also to animals. And we're cutting down the rainforest to grow soybeans to feed to these imprisoned animals. And that is causing the mass extinction of other species on a level that's unprecedented in 65 million years. The effects of animal-based foods on our health is something I think everyone should really look into, because all of us have been born into a society where we have been encouraged, in fact probably more strongly than that, we've really been forced from the time we're little infants to eat meat, dairy products, and eggs. And these products are not healthy for us because we're not designed to eat diets that are rich in these foods. Saturated fat, and cholesterol, and animal protein are difficult for us to metabolize in relationship to plant-based foods. And one of the great things, I think, to really understand, actually, is that we do not need to cause any animals to suffer to get all the nutrients we require to be healthy. We can get all the nutrients we need to be healthy from plant-based sources. And I've been doing that myself, for example, for 35 years. I haven't been to a doctor yet, and very healthy, and my wife also. And just in general, people who are eating a vegan diet have much lower rates of risk for the diseases that are essentially filling up our hospitals at this point, like diabetes and obesity and osteoporosis and liver disease and kidney disease and breast, prostate, and colon cancer and heart disease and circulatory disease. All these things are really in many ways linked definitively to diets that are high in animal-based foods. Through the research I've been doing into animal agriculture, one of the hardest things actually is to look behind the curtain of our culture's routine mistreatment of cows and pigs and chickens and turkeys and ducks and geese and fishes for food and for other products. But food is by far the largest use of these. And I think at a very deep fundamental human level, it's incompatible with our ethics and with our fundamental way of looking at the world to raise animals in conditions that are filled with terror and fear and pain, and then to kill them, to stab them, to impregnate them against their will. In order to do that, we have to pay people and really vote for them, essentially when we buy these foods, to do work that we would never want to do ourselves, work that in many ways brings out the worst in them. So we've created a whole society based on violence against animals, which then in many ways plays out as violence against each other. And I've discovered in my research that when we sow seeds of violence in our relationship with animals, those seeds come back to us. So instead of doing that, we can live our lives to minimize violence, to maximize kindness and compassion. And food is the most primary way that we are sowing seeds of violence in our society today, and we can all make a change in a positive direction and vote for kindness and compassion and spread this message. It's a message not just of environmental health and of physical health, but really I think of ethical and moral health as well. It's good on every level of our being. Every night, 1 billion people go to bed hungry. That's 1 billion of our brothers and sisters, and it's completely unnecessary. We know that we're growing plenty of food. We're growing enough food to feed 12 billion people every year. We only have 7.5 billion people. The reason people are going hungry is that most of the land, water, petroleum, and food that we're creating is going to feed animals who are imprisoned, and we're eating their flesh and the secretions of these animals like dairy products and eggs. And this is profoundly inefficient and is driving not only world hunger and malnutrition, but the suffering that that causes. And in addition to that, this is the driving force behind war, because it's this kind of inequity and injustice where you have some people taking so much of our resources while other people don't even have enough to live. That's going to guarantee that the weapons manufacturers will have plenty of markets for wars that go on, we are called to understand as individuals, as citizens, and as consumers, that we can contribute directly to world peace by giving peace to hungry people, by giving peace to animals and wildlife and future generations, that we're all interconnected, and that we're interconnected in a way that we can bless others rather than harming them, and to look behind the curtain of the violence in our society and realize that there is no reason for anyone to be hungry. We live on a beautiful and abundant planet that could absolutely feed everyone. I was blessed when I was earlier in my life. I was able to teach college courses in a variety of disciplines, and I specialized actually in teaching comparative religion. I was also a Zen monk in my earlier years, and so I've studied the world religions quite a bit. And I love doing that because I've realized through my study of world religions that we have a wonderful resource of wisdom. I know that there are, on the surface level of world religions, there's a lot of things that we can argue about, but at the deep level of the deep teachings of kindness and compassion for each other, for God's creation, that every religion and the founders of these religions, the men and women who had deep insight into the nature of reality, they all agree essentially on the same basic truth. And if you distill that basic teaching into probably like one sentence, it would be something like, whatever we most want for ourselves, to give that to others, a sense of blessing others rather than harming them for our own benefit. And I think moving to a plant-based diet for ethical reasons is a profoundly spiritual act in the sense that it helps awaken our spirituality and awaken our wisdom to realize that we're all interconnected and that we're not just talking about that theoretically, we're actually living this. And we're living it in a way that makes a difference to people and to animals who have a voice and who don't have a voice but who are capable of suffering. So I am delighted to see that more and more people are realizing that not only for the health of the earth and for our society and for our own physical health, but also for our spiritual health, for the possibilities we have as human beings to live a life of authenticity and meaning and to evolve, that moving to a plant-based diet is essential. I'm delighted to see that the message inherent in veganism, the message inherent in moving to a plant-based diet out of a sense of kindness and compassion, a sense of caring about our own health, a sense of being aware of the issues of hunger and sustainability, and this whole interconnected life that we have on this planet is growing. That more and more people are beginning to realize that if we want to have a planet to leave to our children, that moving to a plant-based diet is the single most powerful thing we can do to actually help make this happen, and that people are being very creative on every level. I see this happening in the fields of education, in religion, in science, in government, in the media, in corporations, that people are from every level, from the grassroots all the way up to large-scale corporations, are moving in with this message of eating lower on the food chain, showing more justice to animals, more compassion to each other and to animals, and understanding that this earth can easily feed all of us, and we can create a world that our future, which is a positive future, is beckoning for us to create, that if we fail in that, we won't have a future at all, actually, to give to our children. So it's wonderful to see that more and more people are waking up to this, that this is an issue of not only of justice and compassion, but also of delicious food, of celebration, of happiness, of abundance, of sustainability, of the fact that all of us can live in harmony together, in cooperation on this beautiful earth.